In 1950, Eugene Pauly, an engineer at Zenith Electronics, was facing a problem. Every time he wanted to change the channel in the TV, he would have to stand up, which he wasn't a fan of, which is why he casually ended up inventing the first wireless remote and called it the Lazy Bones. 5 years later, he invented a device called the Flashmatic, which was a device that used photons to switch the channel. What we can extract from the story is that something incredible was born out of his incredible desire to not move an inch, also called laziness. Now, usually when you hear the word lazy, you automatically think of something negative, when in fact, in this story, it was something very positive. But here's the thing, laziness creates progress until it doesn't anymore. When every problem is solved for us, we stop solving. When every single task becomes effortless, we lose the desire to do anything at all. And I think you can see where I'm going with this. I love vibe coding. Being able to describe what you want and get a full working application a couple minutes later is magical, which is the exact reason it's so addictive. 2025 paper in Frontiers in Psychiatry found that addiction not only involves spikes in dopamine levels, which is the neurotransmitter that plays a role in your reward system, but also a bias towards immediate and effortless results, rather than effort-based progress. So in short, short-term gratification versus long-term gratification. Over time, this means that you may lose interest in the process itself and instead chase the instant result. So the more you vibe code, the more naturally you'll start gravitating towards these AI tools that reward you for just entering a single prompt, because it's the easiest and shortest way to get the result that you want. At least that's what you think, since most of the times these solutions are completely bug-ridden and include completely unreadable code. Now, if the only thing that you are doing is launching vibe-coded games, that's completely fine, continue what you are doing. However, the moment a real production environment is involved, such as real customer data, the law, and scalable infrastructure, things get a lot more sensitive. And if you weren't aware, if you have a job, that's mostly what you are doing. And this is why I want to take you away from the idea of vibe coding and switching you over to the light side. AI-assisted development. You are the one in control, and you use AI specifically to get more efficient at coding instead of fully relying on Claude. Is it easy? No. But that's the entire point. Again, most of the time you're not launching vibe-coded games, but are actually working in real code bases. And getting addicted to these AI tools is very bad, especially if the coworkers are the ones who need to read your code later on. How do I know this? Well, I've made this mistake myself. Now, what are some real practical tips that you can actually implement in your workflow? Now, I fully recommend that you develop your entire workflow yourself, since you need to figure out what fits your personality best and what you like the most. However, I can still tell you what I personally do. Something that I started doing recently is to ask a really smart model like GPT-5 on high reasoning to define a PRD for a feature that I want to implement. And I try to be as specific as possible. Some examples include when exactly the feature should be considered done, and simple things such as which files are actually relevant. I then paste that document into either Claude Code or Codex CLI and tell it to implement the feature. Now, what agent you specifically prefer, I have no idea. You need to figure that out for yourself. And again, please be creative. You don't have to copy me 100%. Take your time to actually analyze your current behaviors. What do you do often? What do you wish you would do more often? How you use AI while programming? And just generally look at what can be improved. And if you implement measures for yourself that disallow you to be dependent on AI, then I think you'll go a long way in being a better software engineer. And more so, being a better person in general. Now what counts more than ever is your humanity. Now, one last thing before I end the video. If you're having trouble with ChatGPT as of recently, then trust me, you're not alone. The website is genuinely pissing me off nowadays, and the amount of errors I'm getting is just plain weird. So if you want to use something better and cheaper at the same time, consider checking out Shiori.ai, which is my own personal chat app that I built because I couldn't stand ChatGPT anymore. We're also soon launching a macOS app and a native iOS app with the new Liquid Glass design. Also, it's $10 a month. I'll leave a 20% discount in the description if you want to try it out for yourself. With that said, I'll see you next time.